Hello everyone, I'm Brian, and let's go ahead and get back into the video.
So I think we're about to wrap up our questions, and we're going to open up questions to the audience. So we have the two questions. Before we get there, my favorite topic, Rohan mentioned, food. You cook yourself. I believe Isha has also published a cookbook. Can you talk a little bit about food from the yogic diet perspective? Or what are things that we should be actively doing on a daily basis if I do choose to go the less sinful route one day when it comes to food? Less sinful in terms of the gluttony that I do endure with food. What are tenets of the diet that we should be looking at? And sorry, if you have a favorite recipe to share.
Right now we're running two good restaurants and another 3-4 okay restaurants. Because I am also a food buff, not for eating but for cooking. Don't get much time these days to spend that kind of time, but at least my daughter certifies that I'm the best cook in the world, so it can't be wrong. So, I carefully… This is a very unique type of recipe because we are families who have come from Andhra Pradesh at one time, Telugu families, who moved into Karnataka, a particular kind of region where the spice is available in its 100 different forms. So, our families have been initially martial families, later on they became business families. The men who go to war and the men who go out of the country for business, those days when there is no text and email and all this, when they go, the only way the women can get their men back is by holding by the tongue. It's the taste of the food. Because they've gone out, you know, they were going out to Burma, Japan, those things way back, I'm talking a couple of centuries ago. Now they have no reason to come back. Because it's not like today you hop onto a plane and back in few hours. It's months of journey, you kind of tire. What's going to bring you back? It's the taste of food. Wherever you go, this spice is just eating you up. So they always came back. So they said, we hold them by their tongues, otherwise these idiots, you can't hold them any other way. So lot of culinary expertise, enormous mastery over these things. So I picked up a little bit. With that I prepared a kind of a set of menu for this restaurant. Today it is rated as the second best vegetarian restaurant in Asia. So if you happen to be in Chennai or Hyderabad, you must go and eat there. So, why I'm saying this is, see how to extract pleasure out of this planet. In this, cooking is an important part. Enormous pleasure of how to extract things out of this planet which causes enormous pleasure. When you don't know anything else, the simple way is to numb all your senses, you just get smoked up. One weed will do. But to prepare this meal, you have to go out into the garden or the jungle and pick specific things for different things. This was like a normal thing, you know. They'll go out into the fields picking that specific thing for today's cooking. So this kind of care was there. Today, that kind of care is difficult because we just on the run, everything is on the fly. So that is not much done, but still it's hugely appreciated the moment people come in touch with it, that is there. So what kind of food? Two parts to the food. One is, after all, it's fuel for this body. So it should fit into the system well, that's important. Another thing is it has to pass through the tongue. So we don't have to gulp it down, we want to enjoy it. Whichever way, when you're hungry, when you're really hungry, anything goes, isn't it? Hello? It's a question of survival. Let's say you've not eaten for 5 days. whatever the hell edible thing comes, it's great. But we've passed the stage, most of the people on this planet have passed the stage where survival is pretty well taken care of. Now, see, my mouth is watering because I'm thinking of my own cooking. I have not looked at your book yet. So, these are two different aspects, but the first is most fundamental and important. I will not go into the second because that's another matter. When you talk about food as fuel, food is not religion, let's understand this. Food is not a philosophy, food should not become an ideology, it is just a fuel for this body. In what form and in what composition will it provide this body the best nourishment with least amount of trouble? That's the whole thing. So if you want to look at it like this, first of all, none of you are biology students, are you? No, just business. So if you look at the human system the way it is, in the animal kingdom, you can largely divide animals either as herbivores and carnivores. There are of course mixed, but largely so. If you look at the basic physical structure of these two kinds of creatures, you will see there's a fundamental difference in the way their body is constructed. Particularly the digestive system. When we say a digestive system, from the lip to the anal outlet, digestion is happening at various different levels. This is called as the alimentary canal. To start with, the way our jaws and our mouth structure is, if you look at it, you must have noticed this. If you have a dog or a cat, if you've not seen tigers or lions, all carnivorous animals have only cutting action in their jaw movement, yes? All the herbivores have cutting and grinding action. You? What do you have? Hello? You have both cutting and grinding action. Why is this so? Because there are certain enzymes in your saliva that digestion begins for you in your mouth, not in your stomach. The more the food stays in your mouth, the better your digestive process is. Now that you asked the yogic thing, in yoga, in some systems of yoga, I don't go by these things, but I want people to decide by the texture of the food, how much you do this, but there are some systems of yoga, if you don't know how to chew, they say every mouthful you must chew 24 times. That is 24 times you must do this. If you do that, at least 30 to 40% of the digestion will happen in your mouth itself, already it's been prepared. Now food is primed well in your mouth, when it goes inside, that is what the stomach is expecting, half-digested food, so that the rest of it can be done quickly. But today, most people are just gulping things down because with every food you're getting free Coke so that you can take it like a pill. You can gulp it in and gulp it in. Now, the moment you put sugar in your mouth, these enzymes will not function. If you take any carbohydrate, let's say you take any grain, let's say you take rice and keep it in your mouth, you will see within 30 to 40 seconds it'll turn sweet because it makes carbohydrates into sugar right here. But if you put sugar in your mouth, immediately that system gets reversed and that process won't happen. So with your food, you're having some sugar-loaded drink, immediately this part of the digestive system is gone, you're not using it at all. So everything is on this. So this is being overloaded. It's not just an accident that 50% of the world's antacids are consumed in United States of America. 300 million people are consuming 50% of the world's antacids. This is the statement on the food that you're eating. 100%, isn't it? It's a clear statement that obviously you're completely eating the wrong kind of food.
I mean, it could be other things too. I don't know if it's necessarily 100% of food, but I wouldn't doubt that it's a lot to do with the food. Luckily enough, I don't have that issue. Probably yet. But, I think it's more than just food, but I do believe that food does play a big part into it.
If you look at the length of the alimentary canal, even if you look at the incisors, molars, the way the carnivorous animals and the herbivores are made, your structure is all herbivore. If you look at the length of the alimentary canal in all the carnivorous animals, it could be anywhere between 3 to 4 times the length of the body of that animal. In all the herbivores, it's 5 to 6 times the length of their body. If you look at your own alimentary canal, it is anywhere between 24 to 30 feet. This means it is 5 to 6 times the length of your body. Why this is so is, if you eat any vegetable matter, let's go little slowly. If you eat, let's say, raw meat, it will take anywhere between 70 to 74 hours for it to go through your system. If you eat cooked meat, if you cook it well and eat, you are doing rare, all right, that's a different matter. If you cook it well and eat it, then it will take anywhere between 50 to 54 to 56 hours to go through the system. If you cook the vegetables and eat it, it will take anywhere between 20 to 30 hours to go through the system, depending on the type of vegetable and how much fiber and other things. If you eat a raw vegetable, it will take anywhere between 12 to 15 hours to go through the system. If you eat a fruit, it will take 1.5 to 3 hours to go through the system. Any food which stays in your body for long periods of time is excessive bacteria in the system. You spend a lot of energy just to fight them down. And if it stays in the body, today there is enough medical science to tell you, in Ayurveda, in the Eastern systems of medicine, whatever problem you go with, first thing is they'll purge you, because a clean colon is a symbol of health. But the moment you're eating certain types of food, your colon can never be clean. There are issues and problems today. The amount of colon cancer, intestinal cancer is so heavy because one thing is they're eating food which is not suitable for the system, another thing is they're eating old food. When I say old food, almost anything, everything, if I walk into any store, what I see is any food you want to buy is at least a month or 2 months old. Still, in India fortunately, except in big cities, still, if we want to buy a vegetable, it must be plucked today morning. It is plucked at 6:30 in the morning, we cook at 8:30, 9, when the vegetable is still alive, we want to eat it. And it'll make a world of difference. Today people are talking about farmers' market, organic stores and works, but this is how the world lived 30, 40 years ago, before you business guys totally messed it up. So those of you who… I know all this is not possible for everybody to maintain, don't go by what I say. Don't listen to anybody when it comes to food. Just learn to listen to your body. With what kind of food is your body most comfortable with? Not your mind, not your tongue. Your body should feel very comfortable. If your body is comfortable, one thing is, it'll bring down sleep quota. If your lethargy goes down, if your sleep goes down, your agility goes up, your alertness goes up, this means the body is happy. The body is happy with the food that you're consuming. After eating the food, if you feel like this, unless you drink something caffeinated or sugar-loaded, you cannot get up and do your work. If that is the condition of the body, this is not good for you, you should not be touching that. I would say, instead of going by all kinds of prescriptions, there are simple ways that, not here, but we could teach you how to become alert to the food. If something appears on your plate, you must know whether this will go well with you or not. It's happened to me many times. I'm always with food, but I'm saying sometimes food is being laced with some poison or something. If it just comes before me, I just look at it and say, I'm not eating this, it's not good. Something is wrong with it, seriously. Simply because your body is capable of that. You just do one thing, throw something to your dog, not your pet dog, he's become like you. If you… a dog which is free, if it is free, Brooklyn, there's still some dogs free.
Free dogs are They're hipster dogs, they got mustaches, you know.
If you throw something to him, one sniff, he knows whether to eat it or not, isn't it? How come you don't know? You're supposed to, in the evolutionary thing, you have the most sensitive neurological system. If you look at the food, you must know how this food will behave within me. Based on that, you can shape the markets of tomorrow, the business people.
I will say this, I do want to try what Sadhguru suggests some time ago. I forget what video it was, but he was talking about eating vegetables, and if you're to eat any kind of meat, fish, though the things furthest away from what we are like. So, but the thing is, those fish is so expensive here, and I won't say necessarily finding the time to cook, but just fish is expensive and kind of finding the time to cook. I do want to try it out. I do want to try it for a long period of time. I think, again, like I said, I think I said this before too, someone I know, they did a vegetarian diet, which is not necessarily pure vegetables, but it's just vegetables and fish and Diet Coke, which is bad, but it worked out very well for them though.
So on the note of what we're consuming and putting in our bodies, one of the things that I'd like to know the truth about is the increase in addiction. I would say in the US is the lens that I'm looking at. It's something that has personally really touched a lot of the loved ones in my family and friends, and I see it as a growing trend amongst my generation and younger generations using it as a coping mechanism. Why do you think people are doing this, looking to drugs to solve their problems, and what is an organic way for them to solve that?
So this is I think is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. I think people are so unhappy with themselves they turn for drugs because it makes them forget. It kind of reminds me of the time of people you see in movies and stuff saying, "I drink because it makes me forget my troubles." People say that in real life too because they're suffering, so they drink and they forget, at least while they're drunk. And drugs will, give them ecstasy or pleasure or whatever for the time that they're doing it because their life sucks. And obviously those things are addictive. And it makes sense whenever you're having a lot of fun when you're taking it. So one, they're not happy with themselves. Two, they don't have a purpose. Like if you can be content, you don't need a purpose because you're content with life, and you can make your own purpose anytime that you want. But the biggest thing is you don't need a purpose if you're content. But if you're not content in life, then you need a purpose. Otherwise, you'll feel unhappy because you have no purpose in life. You'll be doing just random things to try to make yourself happy because you're not content and you don't have a purpose. I think that's a pretty straightforward way to say that. And that's the reason why they're into this. So there are organic ways to be content or to have a purpose. Doesn't require anything really.
It is a natural process of graduation. Last generation went on alcohol. This generation is upping it a little bit. They don't want to do the same damn thing. Bigger dose. There was a time when alcohol was illegal in this country, It went wild, bootlegging, we're from Tennessee, our center is in Tennessee. So, bootlegging or moonshining, whatever you want to call it. So it went out of control. Then the government decided it's better to put a tax on alcohol and make money, which they did. Now they decided it's better to tax marijuana and make money. Believe me, watch my words, another 25 years cocaine will be legal. Why not, I'm asking. I was… in India also there are students campaigning, why can't we make marijuana legal? This generation, they do not know. In the valleys of India, Nepal, Bhutan and the northeastern states of India, marijuana grows whole valleys, you understand? Nobody ever bothers to touch it. A few people, some Somebody who has nothing to do in their life, they smoke themselves up. Rest will not touch it because it's all over the place. All over. I've trekked extensively in Himalayas. Just we're walking through this high, chest high. Simply you have to walk through the hash plants. If you just do that, it'll stick to your hand, you can roll it up and you can smoke. Yes. Oh, some of you are looking dreamy, oh, this is the place to go. But now we are suddenly making this into a big thing. They were asking me, why can't we make marijuana legal in India? I said, it was never illegal till American government insisted on destroying all the hemp crops in 1960s, because hemp was a very important textile in India. But in 1960s, they insisted from America because they couldn't make out the difference. Though hemp and marijuana are same species, they are of a different kind. Hemp grows up to 15 feet, marijuana grows just about 5 to 6 feet tall. They're different, but same species. They said, no, you have to destroy it, because they thought it's all coming from the hemp farms. Hemp was hugely cultivated, but they burned down all the hemp farms. So all the marijuana moved to Afghanistan. So they were asking me, why can't we make it legal? We can. Right now the term, I don't know what terms you use, it's called smoked up. You're using the same terms? Hi. In India it's smoked up. Smoke is just cigarette. Smoked up is the weed. So I said, see, it's very simple. We have nothing against anything. It is just that a human being is always trying to enhance his or her life all the time. How do you enhance your life? Some foolish people believe by acquiring things they will enhance their life. But even if you live in a palace, you could be miserable. Yes? Enhancement of life will happen only by heightening your faculties. How your intelligence works, how your perception works, heightening your faculties is the only way enhancement of life will happen. Experience of life is enhanced. So I asked, suppose you want to fly in a small plane and you find the pilot is smoked up. You want to fly with him? That's it. Said, okay, you're not getting the point. You need a serious surgery. Then the surgeon comes and he's smoked up. You want the surgery? Says, no. So you understand, with lowered faculties, he will not make a good pilot or a good surgeon. How come you believe you will make a great student?
Changing gears slightly, I have a question submitted by the prolific Anonymous. How do you, Sadhguru, decide between your principles/goals/priorities versus the person you like the most? The goals and principles both come from the same mind/heart. And I will note, Anonymous used the word like, but we can also use love in there too. But I guess the question is, how do you reconcile your own goals and principles versus the person you like or love?
They should align with you. You don't generally pick a person that doesn't align with your goals or principles. You're just going to be constantly fighting. If I understood the question correctly.
Well, it depends what you have taken up. If your goal is just to earn a certain amount of money or comfort, for somebody who matters to you, you should be willing to drop those silly things. But if your goals are such that it is not about your comfort, it is not about your money, it is not about anything, but it's a larger goal for the well-being of the people, then you don't have to take a decision. Decisions will happen. They will just happen. You don't have to decide.
Okay, so I will pause it right there. But again, so essentially, yeah, I mean, money and all that, it still ties in a bit. Like if you genuinely want to achieve something, you shouldn't be with someone that's against what you want to achieve. I mean, mind you, the more restrictions, the more picky you are, the harder it is to find someone. And this is where you kind of have to pick and choose what is the most important to you. If a goal in your life is very important, then you should not budge from that one goal. But the other things that are least important, you should be willing to give those things up. And what Sadhguru said, like, yeah, if it's if it is something very important, you should be able to drop those things for someone. So if the person that you like really finds you to be important and their goals conflict with yours, but she believes that your goals, or he or she believes your goals are more important, they should be able to drop theirs to assist you with yours. I'm not saying you necessarily have to drop your own goals, but it's just understand what's worth keeping and what's worth dropping. The more restrictions you have, the more difficult it is to find someone. If you have little petty things that you think that you must have, you'll probably never find someone, because these petty little tiny things aren't really worth fighting for. Find out what's most important in a partner. The least amount of restrictions you have, the easier it is to find someone. But do not drop restrictions just because you're desperate or things, because it will not work out well. Find out what's important, make sure you have those goals in line, and it should work out pretty well. Anyway, this is my reaction to at least this one. We're going to finish up in maybe 1 or 2 more episodes, but we're not likely to, because it looks like there's 40 minutes left. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.